All right. So cool though. So we're here recording. I like your place,
Oh,
Anita.
thanks.
What's the proper way to say your name? I've been referring to you to as Anita now, but how do I actually say your last name?
Oh, that's a tricky one. That's why I stay with Anita now because
I
it
would
isn't.
say Anita Nowacka, but that's not right.
Well, no, it's Anita Nova, and then the problem starts. It's Novatska, and it sounds like no vodka.
we want, we don't want that because vodka is such an important part of everything. Hey, you know what I have? I'm gonna go away for 2 seconds.
Yes.
You're gonna love this because I know that you're from Poland, and of course, I have some very very nice Polish friends, and look at what I have.
Oh, look at you, the big animal with a grass in the bottle.
So, Zubrowka.
Cheers, my dear.
With my bison grass, I'm just gonna, okay.
Listen, art and some aperitif always works well together, so we're good.
Such a successful start that we had.
Oh, yes.
No, so we can always edit this later, but how did we actually meet? I guess we met through Ron Henry. We were having a drink after some kind of Black Rapid event.
It was you had a workshop at Gasworks Park, and Ron invited me to come, and we hung out there. You know, it's a old structure. It's many rooms to chat. So you had a workshop in the main space, and I was hanging out with Ron, and for quite a long time, it was impressive what you guys did. Seattle rain was going, and you were sheltered in that structure, and Ron and I was chatting with me. He was chatting with me for a bit, and then I approached you and I said, "Hey, let's exchange phone numbers." And then we got together for a drink.
That's exactly right. And I think I had maybe been on the road for a while. Like I hadn't had any sense of normalcy other than just sort of traveling and being on the road doing workshops all around the world. It was nice to go and like, wow, just go hang out with somebody one-on-one as opposed to doing the big group thing. But I don't know.
And
I felt like I had some sort of connection with you right away and
uh-huh.
on the art side of photography, from the more like as an artist having conversations about that as opposed to sitting around and talking about, well, what lens do you like?
Well, I think just tying it up to photography, you are approachable. It's a good thing in photography, and I liked you. I liked your presence in the way you taught, and you had a nice aura about you. And I thought I would like to get connected before he gets back to London or wherever, because you are certainly a globetrotter. So we did go and have a nice time in Fremont, which is a very artsy Seattle place, and we
Yeah.
had a nice photography talk and about how it started for you, how it started for me. It was very pleasant.
Yeah, and I liked your way of being able to break down some of my work and actually kind of being able to not through words say this is kind of what's happening and what you're thinking and feeling. And I think you have a really wonderful way with words, which I don't always have that, or at least I don't have that ability to be as eloquent with words as you do, which I think is neat. But it's funny, is having this conversation the other day with my mother, who's also an artist, about being approachable, and she said you're able to engage with people, and I think that's part of it. Like, and one of my favorite things to do is shoot, people that indigenous cultures,
Mhm, mhm.
and I don't know what it is, but there's something about just I had this ability to be able to engage with them, even though that they may be afraid of me or they can't speak the same language, but somehow I'm able to spend a lot of time with them and make photos happen.
So when we met, it's interesting that you're still staying on that topic, because when we met and you showed me some of your portfolio, you specifically focused on that particular project because I think it was fresh for you. You came back from somewhere and you showed me the specific lighting you used, and it was striking. And there was a year or two ago when we met too, I think, and you still talking about it. And you brought on Facebook, you also brought another topic about Amazon. So I think there's something, do you think that you're aware of that you're cruising around that topic of indigenous cultures and you're attracted to simplicity actually in it, and communicating via those channels, field channels, right, rather than language? So there's something there.
There is something there, and it was funny, the first time I went to the Amazon, I had this vision in my mind of naked Indians running around that had never seen a camera, or and they had paint would be all over them, and they were using a blowgun and killing monkeys and cannibals, and I was really excited about it. And the whole time I was sort of fighting the environment and fighting the mosquitoes, where it was like Christmas dinner for mosquitoes, and it was just awful conditions. And I was completely frustrated that my perception of what it was, and I was so frustrated with I was there for 2 weeks, and I was like, I've got horrible images and I'm not using any of this lighting. And it wasn't until I got home and started looking at the images, and it was right there in front of me the entire time. It was exactly what I perceived, and the souls were coming alive out of these images of these people that I had captured. And I realized that I was completely out of my element, being in such a harsh environment, in such a strange place where these people are there surviving, survival of the fittest sort of thing, without any judgment whatsoever. It's like, it's either be eaten or live, if that makes sense. And so I think I had this strong connection with these people. In some way, this simplicity that they have, I long for this. I long for this. I really wish I had that in my life. And here we are living in our little social media, and we're talking through the internet waves, and
if our car gets rear-ended, we really get crushed. And in those cultures, there's just you said live or die paradigm
with no judgment as to from society.
Yes. Yes. So hey, when I was getting ready for this talk with you, I was putting my bandana on. I was thinking, shifting gears. What is photography all about, for the most part, aside from knowledge of your light and of your gear, and knowledge about aside from gear and light? Shifting gear came to my mind. So you go to Amazon, you have a notion of what you want to do, and then it smacks you in the head, and you come tumbling like in a wave, come tumbling down, and then in editing you finding your gems, not even in the process of photography. I think photography is like driving a car with a shift stick. You think you're going to go on a fourth gear all the time and just 150 miles an hour, and then you hit a desert and boulders, and then you have to track back and sideways. And it's like photography is about adapting it up, about listening to your subjects, what they want, where you are. On Facebook today, I follow this group. It's called Lens. It's a business page, and they have a photo showcasing a homeless person they live underground among the pipes and that run beneath the city of Ulaanbaatar, which is in Mongolia. And you know what? Just to tie it up to your Amazon and shifting gear, this photographer went there to seek homeless children photography, and he found homeless alcoholics living underground among the pipes, Michael Astregi is his name, and he's thrilled with the shift. You know what I mean? So he was looking for something else. He found a totally different thing, and he wrote that and adapted and captured an amazing portfolio. It's on Lens on Facebook.
And that's the one thing I like about photography is sometimes this unpredictability of your adventures, or having this idea of, I'm going to go there to do this one thing, and then it turns into something completely different. And you have to go with it and have to act and just go with it and go, there's something here. You have to kind of go with your gut. Something similar happened to me, another situation in South America. Someone said that there are these poor kids that don't have homes. They're displaced children due to violence. I thought, oh, this will be great for my portfolio. A bunch of dirty looking kids that are homeless. And when I got there, I realized, and I got to the top of this mountain where they live, and I realized, wait a second, this isn't about me. Why don't I actually give back to these people somehow and use my photography to be able to capture them and bring awareness to them? And I made a video and I made photos, and I helped start a website called Ángeles de Medellín that brought a lot of awareness. And now, 2 years later, there's people from all around the world going to visit and contribute money for education for this group of children. So I think I like this about photography, is this unpredictability. And sometimes when you, like you said, is you may have one idea of what you think it's going to be, but you have to quickly be able to adapt as a photographer and solve problems. And it winds up becoming closer to the heart that way too.
Right, and that is when ultimately it brings you to successful images closer and closer. So if I was to sum this up, if you were to say what you consist of as a photographer, would you say you are a gear shifter, and you come to it with an open heart, you have to feel, and what else as a third component would you add to it as a photographer?
Wow, the third component. I don't really know how to describe it other than I feel like I must shoot. I have to shoot.
Perfect.
And I don't know really how to explain it, but I shoot because I have to.
Well, I think, you know what, you looked perplexed, but when you gave me the answer, I am thrilled, because there's that desperation there, component of desperation, of mustness. I personally, either at the age of 45, can tell you I'm either a good waitress or I love photography, but I don't want to wait tables anymore, so I'm a photographer. Out of two, I must be a photographer.
Yeah, I heard my mother say that one time, and it made sense. I said, "Why do you paint?" And she goes, "Because I have to." And so I'm ripping that off of her, but it makes complete sense. And it's just but I love the unpredictability, and I love being spontaneous, and photography allows this life that I recreated this life 3-4 years ago of photography. Prior to this, I was a finance guy, doing real estate deals. And then it wasn't until the economy came crashing down, and I didn't know what I was going to do, that photography just sort of I had this camera and I started taking photos for fun, and I'm like, I wonder if I could just push this and see where, for my my own sake, I'd be cool to be on a cover of a magazine. And I somehow swindled my way into this Doors, the magazine that gave me an opportunity. I got the cover. I got an 8-page editorial, and it's in South America, and everyone who the hell is Michael Thompson? He's a gringo from, who the hell is this guy? And I didn't know what I was doing, and I made it happen. And I went, if I can do this, then imagine all these other possibilities. And then that's when I went, I've got it. I did it. This is my new life. I just reinvented myself as a photographer, and I've been doing it ever since.
I tell you, there's this skiing analogy that I put into it often, that when you ski and you're on top of the mountain and you lean back, you're tumbling down. When you look forward and you tip towards your ski tips, which is at first a scary thought to look and face the mountain. But the moment you do that, it carries you easily, effortlessly, you know. And the same with our craft. You decide to go for it. You chose photography, ditched your previous profession, and look what's happening. All I see about you is up and up and up, you know, and the positive. What strikes me about you is you have this pleasant face and a heart behind it, and you positive, and you always school yourself, and you add to the craft, and I like your ways, Mikey.
Thanks. And you know, and it's, you know, I can honestly say in the past when I was a business guy, it really was me. And this has been an eye-opening thing and a change in my life, is that it's been not just about me, it's been also about giving back. And I realized that by giving back, you get more back in return without asking for anything. It just sort of seems to happen. And that was a big realization in my life with photography, is being able to give back and not ask for anything. And because of that, my life has been so much richer in so many different ways. So through this short exchange, we hit so many old adages, like old sayings, you know, like don't look back, go forward, give more, you'll get back more. It's amazing that it really is true what people say, and when you find it out through the profession you love, that's more power to it. You're exactly right, and then also just sort of these people that you kind of meet along this journey. Like I've met you, and you know, you're a fascinating person, and I love your work, and I love the little bit of time that we spent together. So that's the other part of it, is that you just meet some pretty amazing people that are like-minded, which I love.
I have back to photography per se, a question for you. When you create an image and then you look at it while editing, what do you know? When do you know? How do you know that you got a gem, just a fabulous image that you're thrilled about? Is there a commonality to the gems that you have in your portfolio?
You know, I think it has to go, for me, it has to do something with the eye, and what strikes me that, you know, when I'm shooting it, and I shoot really, really quickly, you know, which is sometimes a problem on client shoots. I'm shooting and I'm like, I got it. And I just know I have it. I can look down and look at the viewfinder and go, I got it, I'm done. Let's wrap it up. Let's move on to the next shot. And maybe I'll take one or two extra just to make sure that the focus really is there, you know, and it's the same way when I get home and I get my images. I just know right away where the gems are, and I think it's just that my eye. I don't know whether that makes sense. I think personally, I think you either kind of have an eye or you don't. I think you can do things to, you know, be a better photographer and learn about composition and, you know, learn lighting and this sort of thing. But I think at the end of the day, I think some people kind of have an eye or they don't.
Yes. Well,
I don't know whether there's. It's not what we want to hear, but I really think that. So I'm not really sure. It just strikes me, and sometimes I don't always know, but I just look. That's how I pick up my images. Does it strike me and hit me, and I know it? Sometimes I'll go back and I'll look at old images and say, did I miss something? Because maybe I was so focused on one image that I kind of maybe overlooked things, and I will go back and pick out the other gems. And by the way, my 500px that I use, I don't know whether you use that to display photos, but my 500px are the gems that I went through and picked out later because they somehow got overlooked, and that's my 500px.
I have to tell you that I grew up on film photography, and I did work weddings and portraits with film quite a bit.
Was this, you know, how far back are you talking about with your film? I mean, are you talking about when you were in Europe?
In 1999, when I became a hired photographer, when I don't know, 1999 per se, or let's say in America, not not in my days of being a child or a 20-year-old person. I was 32 or so. I still used film. I photographed with the same perception of film, knowing that I got it, and I couldn't even look at the LCD. I knew it because, you know, there were few components of the camera steadiness. Like if the camera bit into the focus, it just backfired in my hand, and I don't really like that analogy, you know, because it's kind of a gun analogy, but it just jolted in my hand in a slight way, and I knew that I had a sharp focus. Those nuances that were hard to explain, it was real connectivity to my body with the camera, and then knowing the light, and just I knew components of light, components of my camera behavior, that I had the focus, that the timing of the smile, you know, if I didn't know that maybe I even knew that they blinked. I even knew that. And then it all came kind of dormant a little bit with digital. I must say that as intuitive as you can be with digital, you're not as intuitive as with film, because you're prone to look. You're prone to look, so you kind of get a bit sloppy there.
And I know exactly what you're talking about. And, you know, and I never, you know, I obviously came into photography during the digital age and never had this luxury of film. But what you're talking about is this, you had a feeling, you were in tune with what's going on completely with your subject, with the lighting, your camera settings, making sure everything is right. And when you visually, in your mind, know that you have it and all of these components come together, you finally click it and you go, I got it. And just by breathing and being, I think the big key here is the visualization. And I think that's one of the hardest things for me to do is it. You know, as an educator, sometimes, you know, part of what I love to do is shoot with others and educate others and help them with their photographic problems to get them where they want to be. And that's some of the challenges and exercises that I do on a one-on-one basis is different ways to help them unpack that visually, what you just described. And I think that's a beautiful analogy, what you said, going back to film.
Hey, I won't talk about it for long, but it ties up to that film analogy. I was playing darts in the Irish pub, and it was my second time. So the Scottish guy comes around with his stout, and I said, tell me about the body equation here. What's the best position? He gives me those cues, and then in the end, he looks at me and he goes, and after all, Anita, it is a feeling. It is a feeling. And he, with this accent, he's holding the beer in one hand and a dart in another. He's moving so beautifully. This older guy, you know, with two teeth missing, and he was beautiful telling me about this. It's a feeling, and it's the same that translates to it's a feeling that you got it. It's a feeling that you have it. And no matter how much you know, you still have to know. It's not like you go to the session unprepared. You have to have all your components ready. And after all, it's a feeling.
I think that the photograph speaks to me when it's time for me to pull the trigger. You know, and I see so many people that maybe it's an experience or they're just excited or not really sure. They're just doing this, you know, and spraying and praying or whatever you want to call it. And I think it's exactly what you said. And the photo speaks to me, and there's a feeling there, and I visually go, "That's it. I see it now, and now it's time to capture it."
Well, the gear-oriented photography became about gear a lot, and I like that we're bringing it back. And it's okay to have as much as you want, and it's okay if you like it. That's cool.
I love my box of toys that get different effects. I love it. Even though I have a minimalist approach most of the time, but I do love my box of toys.
And you know what? It's cool that we're talking, because I have a smaller box of toys. You have a bigger box of toys. And we as much as excited about the general idea of photography and what we do. And we photograph different things. And It's a beautiful thing
But what's
to embrace your no, you know my competition. It's a
oh.
beautiful feeling to embrace each other in the same craft, you know.
One thing about your box of toys is that your box of toys that you take with you to your set oftentimes, your location, is not pieces of gear, but they're elements that become part of your work and your art is
Uh-huh.
just the randomness of things that you bring with you. So your box of toys is pretty limitless, if you could elaborate.
Yes, it contains yes, it contains a lipstick as well. It contains other, you know, it is limitless. Yes, in the end, a lot goes to it too for me. But so tell
So
me
you
what.
actually, your box of toys is much bigger than mine at the end of the day.
Hey, listen, what's the next step for you? Where are you going from where you are?
You know, I mean, it's an interesting question. I've got, you know, I took a little bit of a, I'm not going to say vacation, but I took a little step back from being as active and posting and inspirational videos and things like that because I was trying to make a new life for myself in Latin America, and and I started doing some more travel adventure kind of, not really workshops, more like, hey, if you want to come with me on one of these trips where we go shoot something really exciting and maybe go to an exotic location, then I'll put that together and you can come along with me. And I called it a tag along. So I did a bunch of those last year. I didn't do so many workshops as more of these tag alongs. And then this year I've kind of missed being back in the photography community. So I'm making a big, you know, trying to smear my face all over the place without being too annoying and doing series of workshops. I've also kind of been developing some different gear products, mainly just to kind of solve problems with existing gear and maybe make improvements. So I'm working on, I've got one product now that I sell, and it's really kind of exciting. I've got some light modifiers that I'm working on with my cousin who's a mechanical engineer, and it's neat to see the drawings and put together some prototypes. So I'm working on that. So that's something completely different, and it's more business kind of related, which I like, and I like that excited about me because I used to be a business guy in the past. So I'm going through that process. So it's a mix of travel and in trying to inspire people shooting and then working on this project. That's what I'm doing. And then what's neat about this is that it's opening up doors of other opportunities, which I don't know what they are yet, just by the mere fact of putting myself, in LA and New York and some really neat in Seattle. I can't wait to I have meetings with certain people that are in the industry just to talk and see what I have some things kind of going in my mind of future projects. So seeing if some of those things could materialize and turn into reality.
Well, my wish is to see you in Seattle in the summertime and or spring, summer. Spring is here almost, but
May 18th is definitely on the horizon, so definitely on the calendar.
we will go to the same pub and
the wine place or beer
the
place.
wine place by old headquarters of Black Rapid. That's where we met, and so yes, that's my wish, Mikey. Rather than virtual all the time, just to be in person with you and talk. But I like that you always busy, that you trying to figure out, and that's the way to stay alive, just to try to figure out what's new and combine and tweak.
I've got something for you I'll just throw it out there as a fun little adventure. One of my first girlfriend when I was like 24 years old, my first like adult kind of like vacation with somebody. We went to the coast historic Highway 1 in San Francisco, and we drove south, and it was just incredible. So I'm taking people, whoever wanted to come with me on another tag along, or not a romantic thing, but like a photo romantic thing, to drive up Highway 1 for 3 or 4 days and stop and photograph whatever we see for 3 or 4 days as we drive up the coast of Northern California.
Well, I could be joining you. I love that drive, you know. That's so, I tell you, with or without romance, it's still romantic.
It's
to
romantic,
drive
and
coast.
it's
It is the mist on your face, the salty air, the pleasant air, the little artsy towns and people waiting tables
And let me tell you, there are some characters hidden in there somewhere. I mean,
somewhere.
I'm thinking in my mind, I would love to find some old hippie musician from the 60s who could tell stories of how he sat in and hung out with Eric Clapton. You know, I know that they're there and I'm going to find them.
Well, what is that town, artistic town on a halfway?
Big Sur?
Say it again.
Big Sur?
Oh, sure. Yeah, or M.
There's a
It starts
bunch of them.
with M. And look, they're
Monterey.
everywhere. Interesting people are everywhere. You just got to be willing to sit down and talk, and old-fashioned talking will get you there. Will find you.
You're exactly right. And that's part of one of the things that I love. Like, on one of these tag-alongs last year, we went to, we decided we would rent a car and drive through the coffee region of Colombia, Antioquia in the mountains. And along our journey, we had planned to go shoot these indigenous Indians. They're sort of Indians, but they wear normal clothes. Okay, that sounds fun. And while we're sitting in this little coffee shop, the owner happens to be a photographer. He's listening to our conversation. He goes, "You want to do something cool?" And he happens to be from Germany, living in this little teeny town in the middle of nowhere in Colombia, and says, "You need to go to the gold mines." And he goes, "The gold mines aren't safe, but they're not going to mess with you. You'll be okay." Because of some problems with the paramilitary still being in certain areas there. And it wound up being the most incredible trip. Like, I cannot tell you how amazing it was to go up there. I mean, these guys had never seen a camera, and just, it was amazing. Anyway.
So they still dig gold. They
do it like they did 100 years ago. It's the same process. I mean, and they live like that too. It was. I'll send you a link to this video I made. I mean, it's pretty neat stuff.
Yeah, I would like to see that. You know, that's again the component of they must dig the gold. They must dig the gold.
And I must photograph it.
and they come to it with an open heart. And they must shift the gear if the nugget is not as big as they anticipated. I think every passion has the same components. Anyway, you know, I'm glad you're a photographer. That's a gold digger right there for me.
What about you? What's on the horizon for you over the next? I mean, what are your plans? I know you opened up a new studio.
I'm sharing a studio with a photographer. We're just renovating it, and the interesting component to it is that photographer is a family photographer in town in Seattle. And so we, being each other's competition, we decided to share the same studio and divide it, not even divide it, and have one room for me and one room for her, one wall for me and one wall for her. And we talked about it. It's like, aren't you afraid? And she said, heck no, it's fun. It shows confidence, that you're confident about your work, and they come to your studio and they already are your clients. So what to be afraid of, you know? And I love that idea of sharing my studio with another photographer who's a family photographer in a very competitive Seattle family market.
That is true competitiveness. I mean, literally, you walk in as a customer.
Yes.
On one side of the studio hangs your art.
Yes.
Your competitor right next to you.
Yes.
There's no wall. There's no wall. There's no barrier. It's just open.
No.
Two desks like this.
And we'll be sharing a TV projector. We'll be sharing the furniture. I love it. And look, I can see you are smiling, but I love it.
Are you kidding me? I I think it's so ridiculous sometimes how photographers aren't a little bit more open about things. And I get it. Oh, you're going to steal my client kind of syndrome, and you're worried about putting bread on the table. But I like your idea. I think, why not? I think that makes sense. I think it's very cool what you're doing.
So I am doing that, and I look forward to see the outcome of it. And hey, if I look forward to something, I'm excited. I know it will pan out. So this is what I'm doing. The second thing I'm doing, I'm tightening my family portfolio, which is time for me to seek out. I love unusual people. Who is what is unusual, But I like people with guitars, people with tattoos. I like people with bandanas. I'm going to find me soon in the springtime some cool families living in Wenatchee. It's a Seattle area closer to, Columbia River, living with old trucks and that kind of portfolio mixture I like, and not just Seattle folks, not just people who come to Gasworks where we met. I just like a little diversity with energy, and I also like another diversity in my portfolio, which is I would love to work with families that have kids with Down syndrome. That is my desire, to be introduced or introduce myself to a community like such in Seattle, and work with families who have children with Down syndrome. I'm quite looking forward to it for a few reasons. It comes from, I talked to Ron Henry about it. It comes from the fact that when as a child, it was a mystery family to me, and they had a child with Down syndrome, and I was never told why the child didn't play with us, and that curiosity carried on to through my life here and there. I looked at programs and movies talking about communities of parents living in Seattle. But how I would close on that subject, I looked at my portfolio recently, and they're just all children with they're just.
You have too many good-looking kids
I
in
have
your
a hard
portfolio.
time talking about it. I don't even have a language to describe, and I miss something that is out there in the society, and that nobody really puts it in a portfolio that much. And where are those families who they do struggle? They love tremendously. They struggle with the
Well, I think it extends beyond that to just people in general, families that have someone disabled.
Yes.
A good friend of
Yes.
mine recently, has a baby, and the baby's a paraplegic, and it's it's a sad thing for everybody. But the truth is, he loves that little baby more than anything else in the world, and
That's
and
right.
he needs
That's
photos
right.
too.
Right. So, it's all about love. And I'm kind of sorry that I still stumble with the language. I don't even have a language to describe it, but I have a drive to photograph Down syndrome families. I chose Down syndrome because it's related to my upbringing.
Have you shot a family yet?
No, not yet. This is going to happen.
Well, I think that there'll be a discovery phase for you when you shoot it, and you'll have certain feelings and emotions about it. And I think that the language that you're looking for will come.
Will come. That's right. Thank you for that. That's right. That's interesting, and I see how right you are on that. So that's the second thing that I would like to work towards, and continue with social media, and continue to get introduced to other photographers. That's a modern way I embraced. I actually enjoy Facebook and presence there, and just continue to.
Do you shoot with other photographers?
Say it again.
Do you ever make a point to go and actually shoot with somebody?
Yes, always. Through the years, I always have someone to go with, and to take one-day trips or trips that take longer. Absolutely. That's a very zen experience for me. It's quite soothing to have another photographer for the day. And you look to the left, you see them working on something, and you're like kind of smiling. You see what they're doing. They're going around some object, and it's soothing. It's a Zen experience for me to work with a photographer on a day trip and have a cooler in the car and we just drive. Yes, I do that a lot. So I didn't undo on a trip like that. One day trip or few day trip. So what else? You know what? I think I have like plenty to do with those two things that I mentioned, and I'm renovating the studio. Gathering more clients with old trucks and bandanas and guitars. And
how are you doing that? Are you driving around and knocking on doors?
No. I have my people, my friends who on Facebook recently I just messaged, hey, who knows cool musicians, cool truck owners, skateboarder fathers, just put it out there, whatever you want, a sentence, and people shower you with messages. And actually, I think a trip like that is coming with a friend from Facebook who says, I'm visiting this family, they never had photos, come along, they live near Wenatchee, so there's something like that planned. And then working with the Down syndrome community, and so plenty to do, Mikey.
That's awesome, and I like what you have on the horizon for you, and it sounds exciting. Sounds more exciting than what I'm doing. Other than one thing that I am doing is shooting with a lot of people over the next few months, which I'm excited about. So, and I haven't done that in a while. So, I'm looking. I went with one client. We traveled for 2 weeks through South America, specifically in Colombia. We were along the coast. We went to the rainforest, and then we jumped on a plane and flew to the mountains and did the coffee region. And it was really cool. I mean, just the two of us hanging out with my assistant and driving around and not knowing what we're going to photograph and just let the road speak to us. So that was pretty cool. But anyway.
Hey, this has been a pleasant. I'm taking a screenshot because I would like to have it. And I had a great. You know what? This was great because I decided not to prepare, not to anticipate, not to write bullet points and all that. And one thought came to me: the shifting gear, and I introduced that through the conversation. I thought about. How about for you about this shifting gear in photography on assignments, and would you say that's a fantastic component to being a good photographer, to staying in business? And I liked your answers, so.
Yes. Well, good. So let's think of something creative to talk about next time, if you want to do another one.
I would love it. So, all right, Mikey, have a great day. It's 10 a.m. here, so I'll go and do my